What's up guys, and welcome back with some more Genshin Impact, and today we're checking out another one of Vars 2's videos. It's called Why Endgame Content is Critical to Genshin Impact's Longevity. This is something that I've talked about plenty of times on the channel, of how there needs to be like content in this game that, you know, goes towards the people who have a lot of cracked out characters that are doing like nothing except for like the abyss. So as always, if you want to show some support to Vars, you know, be sure to subscribe to them, hit the like button on the video. The link to this video will be in the description box down below, and if you enjoy my reaction to this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff helps out like crazy, as we're on the road to now 5,000 subscribers. Thank you guys very much for 4,000, by the way. Just sheesh. We moving along. We are most definitely moving along, and I'm very appreciative of that. So yeah, let's check this video out. And this is another type of topic that I'm excited to see.
Content remains, above all else, the most vital aspect of a video game. If the game mechanics and systems are the utensils, content would be the main course. Typically, in regards to consistently updating games, it just so happens to be the hardest thing to scope out. Incorporating systems like the game's combat, skill tree, or equipment spread is for the most part a one-and-done venture. Unless the developers plan to revisit those mechanics later down the road, perhaps to include new features or revamp it, the systems will remain in place for the game in perpetuity. Makes sense after all, a single fork and knife can go through however many hundreds if not thousands of dishes before you have to get a new one. But if we were to continue on with the analogy of fine dining, eating the same thing over and over again grows monotonous rather quickly, so you want to try something new. Ravenous as the video game community is, it's an onerous undertaking for any developer to satisfy their player bases with enough content that is well thought out and engaging. Lack of non-limited endgame content has been a hot point of contention for Genshin since day one. While there's plenty to take in and savor for the first 30 hours or so, revisiting customers will find themselves staring down a menu with no dessert, so to speak. The game's key selling point is the epic scale narrative, the 7 regions of Teyvat creating a grander lore and world for the player, and it's one that will persist for a very long time considering we're a year and a half in and only one new region has been unlocked since release.
Yeah, like, it's not even, like, I'm not concerned about the regions and at the pace that they're coming out. The pace they're coming out, that's fine and everything, right? What I'm more, just concerned about and everything is just the fact that there's nothing else really to do. I mean, you have the events and stuff, but as I've said plenty of times before, there has to be other modes in the game like they do, like in a Honkai Impact 3rd, that you use your strong characters. There just has to be. I mean, like, I'm surprised they haven't done it by now, you know what I mean? Like, they've had all this time and, like, it just hasn't happened, so it's just sort of shocking in that sense, I guess you could say. But, yeah.
Release. Outside of that, there's really not all that much to do after a certain point. Unusual for gacha title, the genre famous for its daily itinerary style of content. Today, we're going to discuss in greater detail Genshin's endgame content, or lack thereof, why this poses a problem for the long-term well-being of the game for both hardcore and casual players alike, and what are some ways we can theoretically introduce new content. The word content in video games encompasses anything and everything that we the players interact with, which naturally indicates a very broad stretch of categories that, while mutually exclusive from each other, still fit the definition. And when I say broad, I mean broad. Content can be large in scope, such as the 3 Realms Gateway Offering event that took place in Enkanomiya, comprising an entire area filled with puzzles, objectives, collectibles, challenges, hordes of enemies.
I mean, it worked. That area worked out well. It did.
Of the Bokuso box, so on and so forth. Content can also be a single entity, like the unusual Hilichurl. To some extent, new mechanics and systems in and of themselves are considered content as well. Going off of that, the idea that Hoyo doesn't release enough content for us to enjoy is completely nonsensical in light of how far they go for events, especially given the fact that said events
they produce content. It's just end game content.
New innovative puzzles, maps,
is
and
what we're looking
designed
for
to last a finite amount of time. Although in the future they might reintroduce those events. The thing to make note of is just that though, its impermanence. Genshin has a lot to do in the grand scheme of things, but as far as permanent content goes, there's not much of it, or rather any at all. By extension, the game has a surprising lack of repeatable content as a whole. One would assume an open-world free-roaming game would take months if not years to fully exhaust all that there is to do, as is evident by the likes of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Minecraft. Though I do concede the latter isn't the most fair comparison, seeing as there's no fixed story mode and theoretically has limitless size. Regardless, from day to day, the only things you can do to advance your progression is to do your daily commissions, burn your resin, do expeditions, and then farm for whatever monster hunting or item gathering routes you can.
And then lose your 50-50.
Everything else you can only do once. Even more pressing is the absence of content that serves to motivate players to do more than the bare minimum, something to work towards. Presently, the
only there has to be something to work towards, dude. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's satisfying getting characters that I really like and building them up to level 90, getting their talents up, you know, even maybe triple crowning a character. But it's like, other than the Abyss, what are we doing, you know? What are we doing? Running around beating up some hillachurls that were actually people? Like, I don't know.
To experience is from Spiral
Gotta make it
Abyss,
more worth
a
it for us to be
gauntlet of
building
rooms
these
with high-level
characters.
enemies that taxes your party's ability to dish out large amounts of damage quickly. Outside of that though, the difficulty scaling for this game is non-existent. You're able to complete the entirety of what Genshin has to offer with level 70 characters, level 70 weapons, and like level 5 talents, sometimes less. After a certain point, even Trounce domains, which house the strongest bosses in the game, get one-shotted. In other words, the satisfaction of player progression grinds to a screeching halt halfway through the game. And despite being out for a year and a half, there still isn't anything to incentivize progression, one of, if not the single most essential part to player retention. What is progression? Progression is an element of any video game that refers to momentum earned towards the goal. Said goal can either be put in place through the game itself or by the player's own desire. For example, in Pokemon, what is the goal set forth by the game? To beat the champion and become
to
the
beat
best
the
trainer in
Masters.
the
I mean,
region.
you gotta beat
denotes anything
the
that gets you closer to
Final
that goal,
Four or
whether it's
whatever
getting a
they're
gym
called,
badge,
get the
catching a new
badges, yeah.
Pokemon, leveling up your party, what have you. In a competitive game like League of Legends, what is the goal? To go as far as you can in the rankings: Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger. Progress in that game, once again, denotes anything that gets you closer to that goal. Learning a new champion, winning and losing games, gaining matchup experience, etc. Even losing can be considered progress, as while you tangibly lost progress, mentally and experientially you gain progress because you hopefully have learned something from that loss. In a game like Minecraft, the goal is whatever you set it to be. It can be to build a giant treehouse, in which case progress will
or
come
go
in
to
the
the
form of
end to go
obtaining
beat the
resources
Ender
that
Dragon,
without
yada
a
yada
goal,
yada.
we as players won't see a reason to play that game. Even the most casual games meant for laid-back
I
fun,
mean, our
such as
goals
Stardew
only
Valley or
really
Animal Crossing,
our goals only really set in this game when we have a new Archon quest or an event or something, but then it's gone like that, you know? It's just I don't know. Why don't you copy the stuff from Honkai? Just do some modes like that, and it'd be fun. It'd be more to do. Do more stuff that makes us do co-op with our friends that are permanent modes. I'm not saying take away the events. Keep the events in the game and certain mini games and stuff that stay and go. That's fine. I'm not talking about removing that, but just things that will stay and you get good rewards. And like I said before, stuff like getting a damn, let's say there's like a mode in the game and you're able to get like a glider from it or something like that, or you could get a character skin from it. Stuff that makes it feel rewarding at the same time, but it stays in the game. You know, maybe you could do like one a week and you get to get one skin a week, and so you get all the skins or something, you know? Something to just keep our attention even more. Like I don't know. You know, that's just my thoughts on it. I've seen some of you guys agree with what I was saying.
Progression is an aspect of games that is ideally supposed to last forever, and thus content has to be conducive to perpetuating that progression as much as humanly feasible. This applies in particular to RPGs, which is what Genshin
Persona
is.
5 Strikers.
Why do we play every day?
Banger.
Is it because we want to stare at how beautiful or handsome our characters are? Maybe for some of you, but that's not the
majority. We
majority.
want an enjoyable experience of where we feel like it's satisfying with building characters at the same time.
Meaningless. Why do you need to level up your Ganyu's elemental burst from level 8 to 9 and or 10 if you're already completing everything there is to clear with level 8?
Yeah, where's the bigger challenge?
You don't. As an action RPG, player loyalty is exclusively predicated around game-imposed goals, meaning if the game doesn't throw stuff at you, there's an infinitesimal amount of things you can do, even if you really try. Sandbox games like Minecraft and Stardew can get away with not giving you any objectives, as the genre is formatted around granting the player liberty to set their own goals. But for an RPG, there needs to be a challenge, a centered goal, and anything else is simply regarded as extra. Take the Serenity Pot. The only reason most people use it is for the realm treasures, the enhancement ores, the Mora, the experience books, artifact experience, and most importantly, transient resin. If the realm treasures did not exist, you have absolutely zero incentive to use this. Genshin is not a house building game, that's not what it was intended for. Mind you, there might be a small
not Animal Crossing,
who logs on exclusively for that, but the core premise of Genshin is not the Serenity Pot, it's not fishing, it's not the hangout events, it's action RPG. Content-based goals and challenges. By and large, that is the basis from which this game is founded upon, which leads us to the title of this video. There are 3 key reasons for why endgame content is important for Genshin Impact, no matter if you're a hardcore sweaty gamer who plays 12 hours a day, or a casual player who's only downloaded this game after seeing one too many.
Like,
Any fan arts of Mona's thighs, or video.
Okay, buddy. And the Lisa climbing, yeah, I know about that. But no, I was gonna say, even if you're somebody who plays this game casual, I would think by now you have at least a few characters that are built up pretty high. And you're like, I wonder, it'd be cool to like fight a few other things that would be stronger, do some other stuff with the characters. I would think you have to think that at some point, even if you're pretty casual. Now, if you're like casual all the way down to the bottom where you barely play the game, I don't know if I'm really talking to you, but somebody who plays the game maybe a few times a week, here and there, but have still been like playing the main missions and upgrading characters, like I feel like this would pertain to you also. This isn't just for like, whales or something, because I'm not a whale in the game, but I have plenty of built up characters. So it's like, I'd like to see a purpose. And it's situations like these too, of where like there just isn't stuff much to do, of where you hear so many people getting burnt out. You know how many people have told me in the comment section down below, or people I've talked to verbally, and they're like, yeah, I'm burnt out on Genshin, like they're just, it's doing the same thing. I got nothing else to do with these characters. I'm leveling up, it's boring. Like, people tell me that so much. And it's like, you would think Hoyoverse would want more and more people to consistently be playing this game and doing more, but I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it does feel like they're in the right direction. Other times, no. I mean, they've been doing good with like the newest missions and everything, but like I've enjoyed the events, but we need other modes that are permanent. We just do.
Videos of Lisa's Japanese voice while climbing.
Yeah.
First, endgame content influences literally everything in the game. The easiest way to explain this is by going over events. The content you think has nothing to do with endgame.
And also, for the okay, I know I keep pausing, but like this is a topic that I really, really like have a lot of thoughts on. For the people that are like, we don't want them to add raids or do this or that or whatever. Listen, then it's not for you. Okay, I'm gonna say it how it is. Then you don't have to play the raids if they were to ever do something like that. Or if they're adding a mode with a big mission that requires, multiple players and stuff, then you just don't have to do it. But for the people that do want it, like me, and I know a bunch of other people want content like that because it'd be cool, we shouldn't have to be stopped from wanting that just because you don't want it, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that doesn't make sense either. I mean, you're gonna have your casuals, you're gonna have your people, you're gonna be like your super casuals, your normal casuals, I guess you could say, and then you're gonna have the diehard people. There has to be something that like caters to each of them in a way, At least in my opinion, like not full on cater to all of them because it's impossible, but you have to throw a bone to each group at some point. You know what I mean? And I feel like the people that have been playing this game for a long time, we could desperately need a bone thrown to us. Because I don't play Genshin like a cracked out amount of hours every day or something like that. I mean, well, there's nothing to do to be doing it like that. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think.
Regardless of what it entails, events often yield rewards and items that augment the player's lineup of characters. Mora, ascension materials, talent books, experience materials, ores, maybe a new weapon, and most importantly, the Crown of Insight, which is required to get talents from level 9 to level 10 and is unattainable in the normal game. You would only be compelled to participate in this event if rewards were in place, as a result of action RPGs being designed around a goal and progress-oriented mindset. Endgame content presents a challenge for the player which motivates them to do anything and everything there is to get them closer to that goal, even if it means doing that random fetch quest for 50,000 Mora. If you're broke as hell from all the upgrading, every Mora counts, but why give us all these materials if there's nothing to put them to the test? You need to have something in place for players to work towards because that motivates them to do everything that would get them closer to that goal. And we see this taking place all the time. Why did people do the Dragonspine event in 2020 and the fishing event in 2021? To get their hands on Festering Desire and the Catch, two very serviceable 4-star weapons for a lot of players.
Which I use on my ride in A.
For the Crowns of Insight. Sure, many of us do these events for enjoyment, but that's only due to there being legitimately nothing to do in the base game to begin with. Endgame content such as a challenging boss or a dungeon, raid, or player rankings would further that incentive.
That would be awesome. It really would. Honkai has the ranking system also.
Gacha games are extremely proficient at getting players to go bananas about optimization by introducing really difficult and challenging content such as raids, dungeons, or bosses, while at the same time restricting access to resources that would otherwise trivialize the difficulty of that content.
No, may not yet available.
Options. Either squeeze every bit of efficiency out of what they have to work with, or, bust out the old Benjamins. Now initially, that sounds like a very predatory way for players to be manipulated into spending money, and it is. but inadvertently it presents a challenge in and of itself. And those who don't have the wherewithal to afford brute forcing their way through content, or those who simply decide it's not worth it, will have to think of more innovative solutions to overcome that obstacle.
Yeah, and I don't like another thing. I don't want to make people that just don't have well-built characters or whatever. This is not to like make you feel bad either and make you be like, oh, we don't want content that's like harder and stuff. We won't be able to do it. It's just for the sweaty people. Like, we don't want it to be like that. That's not the point of what I'm saying. I'm not saying I want some Dark Souls Genshin or some crap. But the option for other things should be there. They just should. Whether some people that are watching this video right now would play them or not, the option should be there for us that would like it. That's the bottom line.
For instance, let's say there's a boss with very large attacks that do shield piercing damage, so face tanking them is out of the question. Who in the roster is well known for fast movement that doesn't drain your stamina? Sayu. There might be a boss that has different phases where they take increased damage by a specific weapon type like Catalyst. That's a great opportunity to work on, say, Yanfei or Klee if you haven't already. Currently, much of the reason why there's so little diversity in character usage is as a result of there being nothing that necessitates that diversity. Kokomi was widely considered one of the least popular 5-stars in the game during her maiden voyage because no one saw any reason to use her over the likes of Bennett or Zhongli. But as Spiral Abyss continued to evolve and more damage was introduced, it became clear Zhongli's shield and or Bennett's regeneration were no longer able to keep up with the rising damage. It just so happens that Kokomi has no shortage of healing, and her damage output with the clamp set sufficiently maintains her uptime. Despite her inability to crit, she was never a bad unit.
Supremacy over here.
Necessary at the time of her debut. Endgame content is the best way to facilitate the necessity of using different units. Spiral Abyss
exactly. Make things that make us use different characters.
Third, it creates milestones for the game and subsequent moments of player satisfaction when they reach that milestone. I'm sure everyone felt amazing when they completed their first 36-star Spiral Abyss. I know I did. It felt like all the effort of leveling up my characters, getting decent artifacts and whatnot finally paid off. Now imagine if there were more of these. That would do wonders for player retention. If there was a monthly raid event or something that would give you, say, a global Stella Fortuna maybe. You bet your brother's Lego collection. People will be all over those.
Oh my god.
At the moment, there's little to no semblance of milestones in the game because there's no endgame content with sufficient enough.
Like, that would be insane. I know they're not gonna do this because it's like, they'd lose some money, but it would be insane if they did something that was like and they'd have to make this really difficult. Like a raid or a boss that you would have to work together with people, obviously. And they give you, like he was just saying there, like a free constellation for any character that you have. That would be insane. And make it like a once a year type thing or something like that. Like, and let people know that you're only gonna be able to do this once and get this reward. That'd be crazy to even think of doing something like that. But it'd make people want to work towards that and make everybody get hyped about the raid. It'd be crazy. Like, I could imagine the whole internet everybody that plays Genshin would be going berserk trying to get this raid done so they could get that constellation. It's stuff like that that brings more eyes to their games, Now, at least in my opinion. I know other people can be like, oh, but it'd be so difficult and stuff, but hey, that's the point. that is the point with it. It is, okay? Like, yeah, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but man, we need something.
In Spiral Abyss, it only gives you some gems and Mora, that's about it. We need milestones. They're hallmarks of keeping players logging in every day. Think about it. Look back in any game you spend more than 100 hours on. Chances are there were milestones, right? In competitive games, they have ranks. In RPG games, they have checkpoints. In platforming games, there are worlds. Milestones cement your progress in the game. The game itself acknowledges your progression. And if you remember at the beginning of the video games are progression. So with all that said, what are some forms of endgame content we can introduce? That really comes down to what approach Hoyo wants to take because they have to take into consideration the risk of power creep. There are far too many gacha games that release really difficult bosses or raids and release a new 5-star unit alongside it that just so happens to conveniently be very strong against it. Now, that's predatory marketing if I've ever seen it.
I'm not saying to do that.
Why I quit Final
That is not what I'm saying to do. Don't do that.
My suggestion is for them to create dungeons and bosses while keeping in mind what the average player currently has. For example, the boss concept I mentioned earlier involving Sayu. This poses a way to add viability for existing characters with more niche playstyles. Granted, endgame content doesn't have to be so outrageously difficult that you need level 90 characters, 10 out of 10 talents, and perfect artifacts. In fact, in my opinion, having that kind of content would be worse for the game than the absence of it.
Ultimately, they should have just stuff that challenges, like, yeah, you have to have some decently level characters, but at the same time, you have to have a good amount of teamwork in order to defeat a boss by doing certain things in the boss fight. Maybe triggering something, hitting a button, jumping up somewhere, having to get through a trap. Like, just stuff like that you actually have to work together with people to get something done. maybe, like he said, not just necessarily like triple crowning a character and then going in and just destroying the bosses, but like maybe some bosses you just have to unga bunga them, but other bosses you have to like think more with your team for like raid stuff. You know what I mean? Like actually use the brain at the same time while having decently built units.
Something that allows
Just my
players
thoughts.
to log in every day with purpose. This month's raid has a boss that requires high amounts of physical damage, so you'll spend this week's resources on dusting off your Razor or Eula. Next month's
there
raid
you
boss
go.
can only be attacked from a distance. Perhaps you pulled for Yoimiya but didn't invest in her and kept her at level 1. Now's a good time to get her up to speed. Things like that. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for today.
That's
really
a good
hope
idea.
In the future, we get
I
to
like
see
it.
some form of repeatable endgame content.
Like I said, I don't want it to be to the point where people can't beat anything. The only one that I'd give that an excuse for, I guess, is the one with the one constellation for any character. That they'd have to make really difficult if they were ever to do that. But other than that, the other stuff, I don't think it should be on that level of just cokehead unga bunga.
As I personally think it hurts the game's longevity when players inevitably get bored. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down
Which
below.
I know so
But
many people that got
If you
bored.
enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like, really helps out the channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more
it's
content
happened to
like
me.
this. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server, and check out my other discussion videos if you haven't yet. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Alright, and there you have it. That was a good video once again by Vars. Very good video. So, I mean, you guys let me know what you thought about this video in the comment section down below, whether you agree or disagree. If you disagree, that's completely fine, but, you know, just be respectful. Don't be, you know, toxic as hell about it. I mean, in the last video we did, I mean, like 98% of you guys were like super chill with it. So, I mean, I appreciate that very much. So yeah, if you guys want to have a discussion about this, I'd love to, and really just pick at y'all's brains and see what we could figure out, because like I said, even for the people who play the game normally, I feel like they want some other stuff to do too with characters they build, because it's not easy to get a decently built character because of just all the RNG that comes into it, you know? So you want to feel satisfied testing those units in other ways. So that's all I'm trying to say. You know? That's all I'm trying to say. Like I said, don't want it to be no Dark Souls Genshin. But just, come on. Give us something to do. Make good rewards being this stuff. We're just trying to have fun with the game. Honestly. So yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Show some love to Vars. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, description box below, Discord server, join. We have a Genshin Impact section there too. I play Honkai, and we're going to be trying out Arknights pretty soon. So there's that. And yeah, road to 5,000 subscribers now. So as always, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Stay safe. And as I always say, don't do crack.
Be sure to subscribe to the Special K Experience if you enjoyed this video. If not, you're going to Femboy IHOP.